Welcome to Epilogue Podcast, the show where we discuss some stuff that happened on a different show ages ago which nobody really cares about anymore.
Hi, I'm Portponky.
And I'm LeBloc.
Today we're discussing Deep Space Nine, Season 6, Episode 12, Who Mourns for Morn? Quark goes on a rat race trying to inherit Morn's vast fortune. What did you think of this one?
Not much time has passed since the last comedy episode, and this one has lobe fondling, but it's mostly good.
This is another Quark-centric comedy. I don't think it hits as many notes as the Magnificent Ferengi did.
But no, not even close.
Yeah, this one has charms, though. It's certainly not dull. They kept it quite interesting. A few different silly characters and plot winding all over the place. I feel it kind of got a bit farcical towards the end.
What, during the Mexican standoff?
Yeah, the one that made no sense and happened purely for plot reasons. But aside from the slightly slapstick nature, I thought it was okay.
The introduction of one silly character after another was entertaining to me, and then people not being who they say they are. Although I hate when they make Quark gullible and he falls for these identities. The one exception, which I really liked, is when he asked for documentation from the brothers. You can't just say this, I have to see proof of this. But then in this same episode, we see him accepting right away that this guy works for some government and that he's under arrest. I would think Quark would demand credentials or something. I don't like when he's gullible.
Hayne did have quite a snappy uniform, though.
He did, and those sorts of things are convincing, but still.
When you've got a gun to your head and someone says you're under arrest, then you're under arrest. Even if you don't believe them to be genuine.
He's a scheming guy. He should know the tricks in the book. He probably submitted a bunch of those tricks to be published.
But no, that's what the Nagus does. Quark's kind of an incidental character here. He doesn't really do very much.
He kind of bumbles around and runs into people.
Yeah, for example, it could just as easily have been Rom doing this stuff. Oh, well, I mean, that wouldn't make a lot of sense, but Quark's personality didn't really come through in this episode. He could have been replaced with another generic Ferengi and the same stuff would have happened.
Maybe that's why it falls flat for me, because I don't see this as actions Quark would take, because nothing stands out as Quark.
Another Quark-centric episode that springs to mind is the one with the weapons dealers, his cousin Gala, and Steven Berkoff. Business as usual. In that one, Quark cooks the books so that he wins at kind of great risk to his person.
Which is totally Quark.
Absolutely. That's why he's on the show. In this one, we have Quark acting like a generic Ferengi, and the episode is about him and Morn, who isn't even in the episode. It feels kind of fillery compared to most Deep Space Nine episodes, which is weird on such an episodic show.
That's the downside of having such an episodic show. When you do have filler episodes, they stand out more. This is completely unrelated to anything. It involves not necessarily a main character, and he's not even actively involved, really. So it stands out as filler.
I guess it develops Morn quite a lot, but his development means nothing because he never says anything. He's a background character who's a joke character anyway.
You can't make me care about a joke character after this many seasons of a running gag being that he never talks, but everyone says he talks too much.
It was better when they used him as a spy during the Dominion occupation arc. That was a better comedic use of Morn than this episode where we're finding out all these crazy, outrageous things.
The crazy, outrageous stuff would work better as a B plot, I think. Then you wouldn't have it shoved in your face so much. But this is the thrust of the episode, and it's stretched too thin. It doesn't work.
I think it worked up until a point. The lottery fund I could buy. Even the Prince story, kind of, but the whole heist gone wrong, it's too ridiculous.
I don't like the reveal that he faked his own death, because
None of them cared.
yeah, they would all hate him after that, wouldn't they?
One would think so. Oh, he faked his own death because he's a wanted criminal who pulled off a huge heist and he wanted to escape the law, and we were all grieving, rolling on the floor grieving. But he's alive now. Ha 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 ha.
Oh, you big goof.
What a lot of fun. He basically comes off as the worst kind of person. Well, that's a very specific thing to assign as the worst, but he doesn't come out shining.
I can't see people happily greeting him at the bar now after this, but I'm sure that's what will happen.
Oh, hey, Morn, you heisting criminal thief, death faking lunatic, psychopath that got 4 people almost killed trying to eliminate them by getting them to fight amongst themselves, which makes no sense, I might add. I just don't know why they all turned on each other.
Because Latinum makes you do crazy things.
But they were willing to reason that 200 is suitable and they wouldn't push for 250.
They had Latinum fever.
It's silly that they were talking about murdering Quark as well, because they spent all this time waiting for the statute of limitations to run out. You don't then commit another more serious crime.
You have to fill your quota of running from serious crimes. So once that's the life they know, is being an outlaw. So once that ran out, they had to commit a new crime.
Sure, that makes about as much sense as any reason they could have given. After all the criticism we've given, I would like to say that the episode was quite tightly written in terms of what's going on. Odo rages Morn about the beats, which show up later. Quark bookends the episode by tapping bricks of Latinum together. Well, not quite, but it's a hook and a callback. The gunfight shot from within the container with Quark was quite nice. I was hoping that a phaser beam would shoot right through it, because that would have been awesome, and then it did. So that was a little surprise. I didn't recall that detail. I think it benefits from just being a later episode, so they've got the knack down on making these episodes quite well. I think if this had been in season 1 or 2, and by all means it could have been, because it was filler, then it really could have been a bit of a clunker. I think just the pacing and the witty sort of screenplay held it together.
The wittiness is really what kept me engaged. I love the stuff you mentioned and how people kept breaking into Quark's room, and then there's an acknowledgement that his lock is terrible and that he needs a new one, and that's repeated. That stuff is all funny, and there are laughs throughout, so I wasn't bored or anything like that. I think it's because it's surrounded by so much good stuff that I want it to be even better than it is. But it's not a bad episode at all, and it's entertaining.
At this point in the show, we've seen the heights they can reach, and this isn't there. So it's fine to complain. The 6-parter at the start of this season was the best string of episodes this show has done yet. They follow up 6 episodes later with sort of goofy filler. Yeah, it's fair enough to complain, hey, this should be better. It's the worst form of competition you can ever have is yourself in the past.
And this doesn't quite meet those standards that have been set.
It's a decent effort, but yeah, it falls short. And I'm confident they'll never mention any of this again. Ignore the fact that Quark became fabulously wealthy at the end of the episode. I'm sure he'll probably be broke in about 3 episodes for some unexplained reason.
Bad investment, bad game of Tongo.
Bad game of Tongo? Jesus.
We put it all on evade. I don't know how the game works.
I don't think anyone knows how it works. Actually, I think it does have some form. Confront, evade, resist, temptation.
There's enough there where
Caress.
it feels like a real game.
Yeah, they do great work with the little games, board games and card games and stuff. I have some behind the scenes trivia.
Let's hear it.
I don't know if you noticed this one.
I did.
Because I noticed it too, and I looked it up to confirm. When Quark is giving the eulogy for Morn, he says, keep the seat warm for Morn, and selects a random from the crowd to sit in it, a Bajoran security guy.
Yes.
Did you notice anything about him? Or have any odd thoughts?
I'm thinking back to when I watched it. Is that the same guy that plays the government dude?
I thought you had it there, but no. He's the same guy that plays Morn, though.
Oh.
It's Mark Allen Shepherd, who is the actor for Morn. He's kind of Morn shaped, like he's the right height and has the broad shoulders that Morn has.
That's pretty good. That speech I like that a lot, the whole keep Morn's chair warm, because it's that duality thing of Quark where he's trying to play to your emotions and manipulate you, but then at the same time he's just saying all this stuff for profit. He wants someone sitting there so they buy stuff.
I think they're not sure if he's genuinely sad or if he's just looking for a quick buck.
Yeah.
But the truth is, it's probably both.
Probably. Although Odo is convinced it's purely profit driven.
I think he became unconvinced.
Yeah, but in the beginning.
Well, he doesn't have the highest opinion of Quark, so that's no surprise.
He also doesn't have a heart, so he doesn't understand.
Well, he could have as many hearts as he wanted. We've been over this, I think.
Probably.
Some more behind-the-scenes trivia. Armin Shimmerman, who plays Quark, was unhappy with this episode.
Not surprised. What were his complaints, though?
Some of the production staff were unhappy with it. It seemed like a good idea, but Mourn's point was he's a gag. You don't take a joke and pull it front and center.
Yes.
Because it just isn't funny.
Gag characters should be left as gag characters.
I don't mind them leaning on them, but this was too much. He couldn't support this farce. You know, one tiny thing that would have really helped?
I'm listening.
If they had told us how many bars were in a brick of latinum, because they haven't mentioned bricks before. I mean, I guess it's a lot. Maybe they just didn't want to commit to a figure, but is Quark wildly rich or obscenely rich now?
I think they purposefully don't lay that out so they can always change his wealth status for whatever suits their needs in a given episode. This far in, I still don't have a good idea of how much one bar of platinum is.
20 strips, possibly.
Okay.
Although in the episode, in the cards, Quark raised the auction amount to 1 bar 25 strips, which I guess is like $1 and 110 cents. So a slip is about $1, I'd say, and 100 slips is a strip, so that's like $100. So a bar is about $2,000.
Oh, okay.
That's very rough, but there's no conversion from bars to bricks. I mean, it could be 50 bars to a brick or something, which would put a brick at about $100,000.
Holy cow.
But that's a total guess. Well, that's how they reacted to them.
That would make sense.
It could be less. It could be 20 or 10 or something.
Because they introduced a new form, it made it seem more elusive, even if they didn't give the conversion, because it's something we've never heard about, so it's something more rare. And that's all they really need to let us know, hey, this is a big deal.
Yeah, they got the point across. I just like needless details.
Needless details can be fun. I can't blame you.
It's Star Trek. I'm sure a lot of the viewers like needless details. But fine. Whatever. I'll just live with it.
This episode saw the return of Quark's scream, which always makes me laugh.
He hasn't screamed like that in a good while.
They use it sparingly, so it hits whenever they use it.
I'm glad they use it sparingly.
Oh, it would be obnoxious if he were screaming every other episode.
Yeah, that would be awful.
Screams every time he sees Odo or something.
You replaced Morn with a hologram?
So he's like a Odo fanboy.
Now I'm imagining he has a poster of Odo in his locker.
Oh, of course he does. This episode retcons something fairly major. They show that latinum is a liquid.
That's a retcon?
Kind of. could give you a whole host of reasons why that complicates everything.
Why not? Go for it.
Okay, I can't remember where this is, but I think it's in season 1. Quark accuses Rom of shaving the latinum.
Yeah.
We've seen latinum plated pens in the episode Fascination. Waxana Troy had a latinum hair brooch in The Forsaken. Mayhardu gives Kira a latinum Bajoran earring in Rules of Acquisition. Blah, blah, blah. They've mentioned you can plate stuff with latinum, certainly. Quark suggested Odo could have a latinum plated bucket to sleep in Q-less in season 1. Okay, so there's plenty of things they've said that suggest gold pressed latinum has a sort of solid substance inside or whatever.
Well, everything I know is wrong now.
It's true. This is, it's madness. Well, whatever. I guess I can live with that too. Do you have a quote from this show?
Most men don't know how to defer gratification.
Well, kind of.
Why do you say kind of?
Well, they do, though. They're not just pleasuring themselves whenever the mood strikes, regardless of context.
One must learn not to think with one's lobes. Not exclusively, anyway.
I get what you're saying. A lot of blokes will, as you say, think with the lobes. But the way he says it is a bit different.
It's a valuable skill.
It's Lorella says it, rather, sorry, not Quark.
Yes.
But the way she says it is like that they can't do it at all. They can't stop themselves. Which I think is overly harsh.
Well, she doesn't. We don't know if she really thinks that. She's trying to heighten the mood and do things.
She's trying to big up Quark, so he feels like the bee's knees.
Yes.
Well, on that note, let's leave this silly episode behind and move on to the next one. Maybe it's another Ferengi comedy.
It could be. We're already at 2.
The rest of the season, Ferengis.
The rest of the show, Ferengis.
Season 7 back-to-back Ferengi episodes.
The Ferengi defeat the Dominion and take over.
That would actually be okay. But we'll have to see. Let's do it.
Alrighty.